Hi guys, today I am doing my top 14 books of 2014. I wasn't originally going to do 14, but then I wrote the list and there just happened to be 14 on there, so that'll happen. Hopefully next year, like this year's one, I'll only do 10 though, because I don't like the idea of the numbers getting bigger and bigger, but I just couldn't narrow it down from 14 for this video, so I just did 14. I know this is very long overdue, I know we're like almost in February, but I just haven't really had the time to do it yet. Also, this is only books I've read in 2014, not necessarily books that were written in 2014, although a couple of these were. Anyway, so coming in at number 14 is We Were Lies by E. Lockhart. This book I'm not going to tell you much about because it's better if you don't know it, but basically it's about a bunch of kids who are related. They're like cousins and they belong to a rich family. Their grandfather's quite rich, he owns his own island, and every year they go to this island together and spend summer there with their families. Number 13 is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This book is about a girl, well, a twin actually, her name's Kath, and her twin sister is Ren, and they are about to go to college together in America, and they've always done everything together, and then Ren decides that she wants to go on her own path in college, and she doesn't want Kath with her all the time. So in this book, it's about sort of Kath finding herself and working out what she does without her sister. She writes a lot of fan fiction online and has a very big following for that. And it's sort of just about her learning who she is and without her sister and learning to be the person she wants to be. She's got so many friends online, but in person, not so many. And it's just sort of, coming of age story. It's got fan fiction based on Harry Potter called the Simon Snow series. It's just a really enjoyable, quick, contemporary read. Number 12 is 1984 by George Orwell. I'm sure that many of you know what this is about, but in case you don't, this book was written in the 30s, I think. But it's supposed to be a dystopian novel about the year 1984. At the time this was written, 1984 was in the future, and it's about basically a totalitarian government called Big Brother has taken over the world and no one can do anything without being caught, and there's all of these things that you can't do, like you can't have thoughts that are against Big Brother. Like, it's sort of basically your freedom of speech is taken away, and it's such a realistic look. Like, although our world isn't quite as bad as this, when reading it, you just see so many similarities, even if they're not as extreme. And it's really just eye-opening, I think. So I definitely recommend this to anybody, whether you're old, young, male, female. It can be a bit of a tough read. It is a classic, but it's still quite easy to get into, and it's definitely worth a read. So go and get it. Number 11 is Scudagory Pleasant by Derek Landy. This book I read right at the beginning of last year, so yeah, it is the first book in a 13 book series, 12, 11, 9, I don't know. It's a long series. It is set in Ireland. At the beginning of the novel, this girl's uncle, or great uncle, dies, and she didn't really know him, but they go to his house to sort of get the will read, etc. And at the beginning, he leaves one of his possessions to a guy called Mr. Scudagory Pleasant, and no one in the family knows who this is. But basically there's magic, there's like warriors, there's underground worlds and businesses, there's like villains and all of this cool stuff and all these shenanigans, and it's just really, really good. I actually really, really, really want to read the rest of the series. I've got like the second book and like the fourth one and the sixth one or something, but I need to read the rest. Number 10 is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. So this book is quite unique, actually. That's why I love it so much. It's throughout the book you get, I'll try and find it, but throughout the book you get different photos that help to assist with the story, like this one. Yeah, they help to assist with the story and the plot line, and basically there's this boy called Jacob, and his grandfather's always told him this story of these peculiar children on an island run by Miss Peregrine. I'm sorry if I'm really bad at like giving synopsises of these books. I'm trying not to give anything away. I'll read you the back cover though. A mysterious island, an abandoned orphanage, a strange collection of peculiar photographs. It all waits to be discovered in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, an unforgettable novel that mixes fiction and photography in a thrilling reading experience. As our story opens, a horrific family tragedy sets 16-year-old Jacob journeying to a remote island off the coast of Wales, where he discovers the crumbling ruins of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. As Jacob explores its decaying bedrooms and hallways, it becomes clear that Miss Peregrine's children were more than just peculiar. They may have been dangerous. They may have been quarantined on a deserted island for a good reason, and somehow, impossible though it seems, they may still be alive. It's a very cool premise, and I just loved this book, and I cannot wait for the third one to come out, and I don't know when that is. So number 9 is The Maze Runner, which I'm sure that many of you have heard of. It's by James Dashner. I haven't read the other books in the series, just before anyone asks, but I did really enjoy this one. So in this one, our main character, Thomas, is basically sent up in this container to this place, and the only thing he can remember is his name. And he later finds out that they are in this sort of center of a maze, and there is no way of getting out. The maze moves, it changes, there are animals in there that are utterly terrifying and will kill you, and they basically have to learn how to live in this new society they've been forced into, and they've got no idea why they're here. It's just a bunch of boys, there's no girls, nothing, and they have to learn how to get by without any assistance and how to get out, really. The number 8 is Monsters of Men by Patrick Ness. This is the third book in the Chaos Walking trilogy, so I'm not going to tell you much about this one, but basically the Chaos Walking trilogy starts off with our main character Todd, who lives in a it's a dystopian society. It's in the future where humans have basically moved from Earth onto a different planet. On this planet, all of the women have died, and men have got the capability to hear each other's thoughts. But it's not just oh, I really want to know what Steve's thinking today. It's genuine, constant noise, because you can hear everybody's thoughts within like 100-mile radius or something. And so it's just constant chaos and constant noise. Wherever you go, you can hear everything. There's no secrets, nothing. And then all of a sudden, our main character Todd stumbles across a pocket of silence. Like, he literally just walks over into this field, and there's some silence. And then stuff happens. But this is a trilogy, and this is the third book, which is my favourite one of them. I think I read all of them last year. It's just a phenomenal trilogy that I recommend. It's quite a chunky read, but I read it so quickly. It's so easy to get through, and I actually really want to reread it at some point. Number 7 is The Messenger by Marcus Zuzak. This book is awesome because I'm from Sydney, and this book is set in Sydney, and it's just really nice reading something set in Sydney. This book is, like I said, set in Sydney, and it's about a guy called Ed who is a taxi driver, and one day right at the beginning of the novel, he is in a bank and he stops a robbery. And then from that day, he gets cards in the mail with cryptic messages on them that he has to sort of work out, and usually it's something he has to do, and he doesn't know why he has to do them, and it's sort of about what he learns through this experience and the mystery of why it's happening, and just sort of learning Ed's story. And it's just a really phenomenal read purely because of how unique the idea is, and also how realistic the characters are. They are so flawed. He's just an average guy, and he's sort of an anti-hero, to be honest. Number 6 is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This was a reread for me this year. I actually studied it in school this year. For those of you who don't know, this is about German scouts who lived with their father Atticus in the deep south of America in the 30s. And at that time, there was obviously a lot of racial segregation, issues with black people and white people, etc. And this book is really, it's from Scout's point of view, and Scout's a girl, by the way. She's about 9 or 10 or something, so she's quite young, and it's just about how a 10-year-old in the 30s was viewing racism and the inequalities that came along with that, and how they affected her. Her father is a white lawyer who has been put on the case to defend a black man for raping a white girl. And her father is very diplomatic and humanitarian, and he has no problem with black people, but everyone else in the society does, and it's just about how Scout has to deal with people saying bad things about her father, like saying that he's a nigger lover, and how that affects a 10-year-old girl, and how she is just growing up with the pressure to hate black people, but whilst her father is telling her that black people are no different, and how a 10-year-old girl can see through the prejudices that adult societies cannot. And I just adore this book. It is so beautiful. As you can see, it's very well loved. It's quite an old copy. It's got brown pages. But this book is just so life-changing and eye-opening, and I honestly think this is going to be one of the books that I read over and over and over again, because it's just beautiful and phenomenal, and the writing is just wonderful, and it's just so timeless. Like, even if you forget the whole racial segregation part, if you put the main theme of the book, which is prejudice, into any topic, it's still the same point. People are just people, and who cares if they've got black skin or white skin? Who cares if they're old or young, or if they dress promiscuously or walk around wearing trackies? Like, who cares? They're people. And that is why I love this book so much. It's just so humbling, and I love it. Number 5 is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I only read this at the end of last year, and oh, it was so good. So this is going to be a really long series, but this is the first book. It's the only one currently out. The Mime Lord comes out very soon, I think. It may already be out, I'm not sure. But The Mime Lord comes out, I think it's next month. But basically, this is about dystopian London. It's 2052, I believe. I don't know, it's supposed to be about 40 years in the future. And our main character, Paige, is a clairvoyant. And in this society, clairvoyants are looked down upon. The government thinks of them as a threat. They do not want them. And there's all of these campaigns out there to sort of get rid of clairvoyance. And our main character has a very special type of clairvoyancy. There are different sort of types, but she's got a very rare, very powerful type where she can basically walk into people's dreams. She can see their dreamscape. She can see inside what, like, their deepest want and deepest fear is. I'm not going to say any more because that will be spoilers. I'll read you the back. 19-year-old Paige Mahoney works in the criminal underworld of Scion, London. Her job? To scout for information by breaking into people's minds. For Paige is a dreamwalker, a clairvoyant, and in the world of Scion, she commits treason simply by breathing. I just adored this. I keep saying that. I seriously just love this book so much. It was so clever and different. And I've never read anything about clairvoyants before, but I really freaking love them now. And I definitely want to read more of them. So I'm very excited for the second book in the series to come out, called The Mime Lord. Book number 4 is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. I'm sure everyone knows about this. It is set during World War II in Germany, and it is about the story of a young girl called Liesel. And at the beginning of the book, her mother is taking her and her brother to live with a German family so that they'll be protected, except on the way, Liesel's brother dies. So by the time they get to this other family, it is just Liesel by herself in the hands of complete strangers. She doesn't know anyone. And one of the reasons I love this story so much is because, similar to To Kill a Mockingbird, it's about a little girl and what her experience is with a terrible adult world. War is a terrible thing, especially World War II Germany. It is just terrible and destructive, and she's such a pure, gorgeous little girl. She loves reading, hence the book, and The Book Thief, the title. And yeah, she loves reading, and it's just it really makes you feel, it gives you a very eye-opening view of what the war was like, because it's not some hero or a soldier in the war, it's a girl and her family and just those around her, and it just shows how destructive the war can be. One of the other reasons I love this is because the book is actually told from Death's point of view. He's not a person by any means, he sort of just voices the book. And he says that he's met with Liesl on many occasions. Not that she's died, but just that she's been around death, like with her brother, for example. And he's seen her on many occasions, and he's just very intrigued by this character of Liesl, and he keeps watching her, and it's just beautiful how Death narrates the story. And it's just a really unique way to do it, but it is very effective. Book number 3, getting close, is Ghost Song by Sarah Raine. I did a book review for this on my channel before. I'll link that down below. So I'll do this briefly, but basically Ghost Song is set in London throughout different time periods. And in our modern day setting, there's this old theatre that's been closed down for a while. No one really knows why. It closed down at the beginning of World War I and hasn't been open since. And people don't know why, but then one day our main character, Robert, is asked to go in there to have a look at the plumbing and the electricity and just sort of give it an all-round check. And whilst he's there, he finds a wall, a bricked up wall underneath the theatre, and it's a very badly built wall. It looks like it was built very quickly, and he's very intrigued about it, and so stuff sort of happens, and this book is eerie. I'm not going to say it's creepy, but at one point I was it literally gave me goosebumps. But we also see this book from a past time point of view of just before World War I, which is just before the theatre closes, and what's happening there, and they sort of, a mystery basically turns up, like what's behind the wall, etc., and they start getting involved in trying to work this out. It's just really, really intriguing. I wasn't planning on reading this anytime soon, but it was my TBR jar pick, and I am so glad that I read it because it's phenomenal, and as you can see, it got into my top 3 of the year. So I think that's saying something, and I feel like this is a very underhyped book. I'd never heard of this on BookTube before. It's actually my mum's book. She just picked it up in the bookstore and read it and said it was amazing. So I definitely think that this book needs some more recognition. Number 2 is Eleanor Park by Rainbow Rowell. I do not actually have the book with me at the moment. My friend is currently borrowing it, but I just love this book so much. It literally broke my heart. I was crying so much by the end of this book. It is set during the 80s, which I found really, really cool. It's about a girl called Eleanor who comes from a poor family, and she's recently moved into the area, and she's starting her first day of school. And because she's poor, she doesn't really have any nice clothes. She doesn't look fantastic by any means. She's slightly overweight. She's got curly red hair, and her appearance is nothing to be like noticed, to be proud of, etc. And on the bus, she meets this boy called Park, who is from an Asian background, and he's really nice to her, and they get to know each other, and it's just a beautiful story of friendship and love and how cross-cultural relationships could work. And it's set in the 80s, so it's got all of these cool like 80s music in it. It's also got stuff about like how different socio-economic backgrounds can work. For example, Park is actually quite rich, and it's just really, really lovely. It makes you sort of, I don't know, it gives you all the, like, the warm and fuzzies, it gives you all the feels, and it's just really, really beautiful. If you like The Fault in Our Stars, you'll definitely like this. And finally, number 1 is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I read this at the end of last year too, whilst I was in Europe, and this literally blew my mind. It is so, 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 so good. Nick's wife disappears on their 5th wedding anniversary, and all of a sudden the police start blaming him for her disappearance, except Nick claims to know nothing. And when I say claim, I mean that's what it says on the back of the book. He claims to have no idea where his wife is, yet all of the evidence is pointing towards Nick, and he's got no idea. Well, he claims to have no idea what is going on, and all of this weird stuff starts happening, and it's just a really amazing book. Like, it blew my mind. I was literally sitting here like, what is going on? This is crazy. So I think people need to read this one. It is definitely my favourite book of last year. It was so good. That is my favourite books of 2014. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope everyone is having a lovely time. For those of you in Australia, you'll probably be going back to school today, tomorrow, yesterday. So I wish everyone a fantastic term 1 at school and fantastic year, in fact. And for the rest of you in other countries, I also wish you a fantastic year. Bye, guys!